Well, I got a new arrival at my shop. It's a 250 Lusso, 1964. This is probably what I would consider one of the prettiest Ferraris ever made. It's just gorgeous. I mean, it really has so many beautiful lines, and I could just sit here for hours just staring at it and just looking at all the ways this car lines up with the way the fender drops, the way the rear quarter window has this, comes to a point, the curve of the rear quarter panel, the curve of the front quarter panel. There just really is a beauty to this car. I'm sure there are other cars out there that people think is just pretty, but I just have always loved the Lusso. The crazy part about this car is that back about 25 years ago, they were almost affordable. And, when I say affordable, I don't think Ferraris were ever cheap. I always say that Ferraris were expensive when they were cheap. And that's the same for this car. I mean, I don't think a Lusso or any vintage Ferrari was ever so cheap that anybody could buy them. I mean, when you hear stories about people saying, oh, I could have bought a, X Ferrari for X amount of money and, I should have bought it then. Well, the reason why they didn't buy it is because they just didn't have the money. As an example, my 330 America, when I bought it in 1999, I bought it for around $30,000. I mean, it needed everything. It needed an engine rebuild, it needed an interior, it needed a lot of work. But, and what I should have done was I should have bought a running driving car, because a running driving car was probably about $40,000. I might not have been able to find a 330 America for $40,000, but I know that GTEs were selling for around, $40,000 back then. But I didn't have $40,000. I didn't have the $10,000 extra. In fact, I had to borrow some of that $30,000 to buy my car. But what I do remember was when I was looking for cars for sale, a Lusso, Project Lusso had come up, and I was looking at it, and the price was $75,000. And it probably needed about the same amount of work as my 330 America, maybe even a little more. But it was a complete car, and it needed a restoration. The asking price on that car was about $75,000. So I was thinking in my mind that, well, maybe you can make an offer at $65,000 and buy the car. But at the time, I barely had enough money to buy my car. So buying a Lusso would have been completely out of the question. I mean, I barely had half of that kind of money. So I ended up buying my 330 America. What I should have done in hindsight was buy the Lusso, because the interior would have cost the same, the engine would have cost the same, all the mechanicals would have cost the same. And at the end of the day, even though my car is a six-figure car, this Lusso is a seven-figure car. This Lusso is, even in the market where it is now, is still worth between $1.3 to $1.4 million, as opposed to my car that's probably worth somewhere in the $300,000 range, maybe $400,000, who knows. But the point of the matter is that this is where I should have put my money and time, on top of the fact that it's just an absolutely beautiful car. There isn't a single straight line on this car. Everything curves and blends and folds and connects to something else. So really is one of the prettiest cars. But I oftentimes, when I sit and think and look at this car and think about what it could have been, I'm often realizing that I might not be driving a Lusso if I owned one. Could I take my Ferrari out for a morning drive and even if it rains or if it's weather and all this other stuff, can I drive it? I mean, I guess I would practice what I would preach, but even though my car is expensive and can be a little scary to drive on public roads, what would it be like to drive a car that's 4 times what I currently own? So it definitely makes me think that maybe not owning a Lusso is a good thing. Chilly day this morning. Take this Lusso out for a drive. Oil is still warming up a little bit, so it's not as responsive, but we're going to just try to cold. Hoping to get everything warmed up a little bit on this cold day. Car's been sitting on a truck, so I want to take it out and just check this transmission a little bit. Transmission feels pretty good. I mean, for ice cold, second gear feels pretty good. No real noises. So this car was sent to me because the owner wants to put a 5-speed gearbox in it, and I can understand why, because right now we're doing about 60 miles an hour and we're at 3,400 RPM. And that's it, because this car has a 4-speed gearbox. And a 4-speed gearbox, it's 1-to-1 ratio. So basically, if I wanted to go faster than 60 miles an hour, I have to really wring this engine out. And having another gear would really help this car, because even on my car, my 330 America, I would be spinning 1,000 RPM less and I'd be doing that much faster. Like right now I'm doing what, about 110 kilometers an hour, and it's almost annoying how loud this engine is with the RPMs I have to spin just to keep it at a decent pace. So he's got this overdrive add-on for Ferrari transmissions that's made, I believe, by GTO Engineering, and he's asked me to install it this winter. So that's the plan. Yeah, Lusso is probably one of my favorite cars. I've always loved the Lusso. I mean, I think the first time I saw a Lusso, I said that's the Ferrari I would want. But you know, just couldn't afford it. So I ended up buying a 330 America just simply because I could afford it. Now, what have I learned that I enjoy having in the 330 America instead of a Lusso? Well, right there, the transmission. I have a 5C transmission, so cruising on the highway is just so easy on this car. And when you have a Lusso, or even a short wheelbase for that matter, they have 4-speed gearboxes, so they really have to spin up high to keep up in traffic. The other nice advantage of the 330 America is there's so much room. I mean, it's a 4-seater car. Back seats are usable, but the fact that you have a back seat, you could throw so much more stuff in it. When you look at this car, I mean, there's really just a big package tray in the back and a small trunk, because the trunk has the spare tire in it. Yeah, I mean, it really is not a ton of room in this car. You know, it's a two-seater car. That's what they're for. And the other advantage, I think, like I said earlier, is the fact that if I owned a Lusso, would I be able to drive it? I mean, I'm driving one now, obviously. I'm taking it on the usual roads that I take it on, but I'm waiting to make sure that the traffic was down. I'm making sure that there's not a lot of people around, and I'm taking this for a nice little drive around the back roads. But like my 330 America, I don't really worry about it, just simply because it's not as valuable as this car. good get up and go. But I tell you, this car is just achingly beautiful. I mean, I could sit and stare at it all day. Now, I know I preach about it all the time, that you should be driving these cars. And I'm really lucky that I get a chance to drive this car. But man, I tell you, I could just stare at this car all day. Some of these guys that own these cars and they just put them in their collections and they put them in a garage and stare at them, I kind of get it. Because I tell you, I mean, there is really nothing more pretty than a Lusso. But I think that was the hook about Ferrari, is that not only are they beautiful, but man, they make noises like this and they drive. So it's like the full package. Not only is it a beautiful car, but it's got the power and the noise and the performance that goes with it. So it's like the best of all worlds. Not taking a beautiful car like this out and driving it is only taking advantage of half the benefits of this car. So I'm just so lucky I get a chance to drive something like a Lusso and I get to look at it. So pretty cool. This installment of Ferrari Mechanic Struggle of the Week has to do with bolts. Normal bolts are just regular size. You know, this is like an M6 bolt. And this is a special shouldered bolt. You can see it's got like a little collar on it. And if you work on vintage Ferraris, then you'll recognize that this bolt secures the angle drive on the back of an engine. And the reason why this little difference in height for these two bolts can really cause a problem. It's a lot easier to show you on this engine that's out of a car because I'll show you how tight it is once it's in the car. But if you look at a Ferrari engine, it has a distributor. It has two distributors. And in the back, there's what we call an angle drive. And that angle drive bolts to the valve cover. So this bolt goes into that little hole and basically goes through the valve cover. So when you tighten this thing in, it attaches the valve cover. So if I want to do a valve adjustment, I have to pull this valve cover off. I have to get this little bolt out. There's two of them. There's one over here and there's one on the other side. And when this thing is tightened in, now it's generally easy for me to do this with the engine out of the car, but I'll tighten this thing in. And as you get this bolt all the way in, and I put the regular bolt in just to show you. So the regular bolt goes all the way in, and what happens is it really starts to get tight because there's like a recess in the way that goes in. So when it's tight, there's very little of the bolt showing. When I was doing a valve adjustment on a 330 GTC, I went to take that bolt out and it was so tight that the edges of the bolt or the wrench would not really grab on that and was having trouble turning it, and it was starting to round the bolt off. The other problem is there's no room to put a socket in here. So you really can't get a 6-point socket. You can get a 6-point wrench, but the problem is then you have very limited angle. You really can't, it's very hard to get a turn without a 12-point wrench in there. You really need that shoulder so that you can get access to the bolt. Let me swap out the bolt and I'll show you how much difference there is. With the correct bolt installed, you can see how much more room there is for you to get your wrench on there and to turn it, because it's not flat up against that little recess or that little pocket. So that's really important. If you can't get access to that bolt, you can't take the valve cover off. And when it's in the car, the access is even worse. I mean, I know I have the air filter and the distributor wires and everything out in the way, but you can see how tight it is to get to that bolt. And you can just see it in there. And imagine trying to deal with it if the wrong bolt is in there and you can't even get access to that bolt. I'll show you a little bit on the right side. It's a little bit better access on the right side. The right side, you can get a little bit better access, but barely. And obviously, like I said, you can't get a socket in there. You have to get a wrench. And just a regular wrench just won't do. If you try to use a regular wrench, you can't really get the angle right, because as the wrench turns, you get only so much before it hits up against the distributor. And this way, when you look at how tight it is, you really don't get a lot of access here. So I don't even know if you can get that much. I mean, you literally just get like a degree or two before it hits up against the distributor. So like a straight wrench just usually won't make it. So what I've done is I've bent a wrench, because that little bend will allow me to get the full turn all the way up this way. So I can actually reach that little nut all the way into here and turn it all the way down. If you have a straight one, you can't make this turn because it hits up against this angle drive. That's what's securing. So even with the right bolt, you still need a wrench that's bent so that it can get in here. I've looked around and seen there's nothing on the shelf that you can buy that is this shape, that fits in there. I've also ground down the edge of this wrench just so that it fits in there, because a regular wrench is thicker. So when you try to get it around here, sometimes it will hit up against the body of the distributor. Now these bolts are available. You can buy them from the Ferrari part supplier. But the other crazy thing is, these things are around 20 bucks a piece, 20 or more, because the problem is there's now that we've got tariffs on everything, so we've added, everybody's added 15% tariff to everything. I don't even know where these are made. I'm assuming they're made in America, but who knows? Everything's gotten a tariff added to it. So now this delivered 2 bolts that I was missing cost me nearly $60 to get these here. And as much as it's expensive to do, you can't do it without it. So that's the Ferrari struggle of the week.